We're going to do R11S first then, but give us a little rundown on some of the new features and functions, and maybe a little bit on why you've changed some of the features on it to make it more playable, more workable, better for the tour player and the consumer out there.
Well, the challenge, Greg, is always to make the driver go longer and straighter. It's pretty easy for me to go to our engineers and say, it's got to go longer and straighter. And they all look at me and say, yeah, right, we know. But that's a challenge, and it's a challenge when we have such good performing product already.
And a challenge because of the parameters that you have to work within USGA rules of golf as well.
Right, certainly there's those parameters and there's just the laws of physics. And the challenge is, right, we've got 460 cc's, that's a limit. We got the height, size, all those other things. We got the speed off the face. All those things are limits that we have to work within the boundaries. And that's been our goal for a long time, is we know we can improve performance but still in the boundaries. So with the R11S was really the chance to say, let's take the R11, by far the best-selling modern driver ever, and make it better, make it longer and straighter. So there's a couple things we did really in terms of the hardcore engineering of the product. It is larger. It's 460 cc's now. The last version was 440. We've changed the crown construction. We use something now called thick-thin crown. Thick-thin crown is a change of the structure from, we used to be about 0.55 to 0.6 titanium cast. Now we're actually, think of a sort of a larger football pattern, but it's thick and thin in different ways. So the thin areas are 0.4 millimeters. The webbing, if you will, is 0.6. So that reduces weight. Reducing weight allows you to make it bigger. Also allows you more weight to adjust CG and do things like that to improve performance. The next thing we did was we looked at the structure of the sole and the head itself and said, the club head can give us more aerodynamic performance. And you'll notice if you look at the existing R11, it has a big pocket with fairly steep walls. You notice this pocket is a lot smoother in terms of the walls of that pocket. And one of the things there is that gives us probably about a 1% performance improvement due to aerodynamics in club speed. So 1% is 1%. We're not going to give that up, and we can improve the product that way. So that's definitely going to benefit golfers with more club speed without swinging harder. So that's a nice one. The other thing is we looked at the structure and said, if we can move the CG just a little bit more forward and keep it low, we're going to get more ball speed as well. So that's another benefit of the system is let's move these weight ports just a little bit more forward, do some things internally, bring that weight just a little forward. In the past, when we had clubs with movable weights front and back, when you move the weights from the front to the back, you'd pick up a mile an hour or two of ball speed. So with this system, we're going to get, again, about a mile an hour or so of ball speed. That's all good too. The last thing which you'll notice from the structure standpoint is it's got a 5-position sole plate. The ASP now has 5 positions, and you'll notice on there it has neutral, open, open plus, close, close plus. The nice thing about this is it gives us those 5 different settings. This range now is plus or minus 3 degrees. The original R11 was plus or minus 2 degrees. So a nice improvement there. So that's what you see visually from the club, a very new, fresh look with more technology and more benefits to the features themselves. The other thing that you don't see from here, but the sleeve has been improved to now make it a 1.5 degree change in the loft. So that 1.5 degree change corresponds to a plus or minus 3 on the sole, hence the plus or minus 3 range on the sole plate. Now we can give you a golf club that if you go to the extremes of the settings, you can deal with something plus or minus 6 degrees face angle. Now we know that's not a very common setting at those ranges, but there are some players that will want those in the extremes. The other nice thing of that benefit is because you have an 8-position sleeve, you really have 5 lofts. So 5 lofts or 5 face angles correspond to 5 here. So now we can get basically, the club head can give you 5 different lofts at the same face angle if you so desire. So it's kind of a neat system in terms of the combination of the adjustability features. The overall club itself in the stock configuration will give you now 80 settings. The current R11 is 48. Now we know R11 has been a great driver, fits a huge number of people, but we found in the marketplace that there are still golfers that need that bigger range, whether it's more loft, more face angle, or more adjustment overall in terms of the head size and forgiveness. So all in all, this golf club in the same standard settings as an R11 will probably be about 7 yards longer, and that's typically a number that we'll use just because the settings are better, more ball speed, more club speed, and a little bit lower spin due to the front CG. All in all, about 7 yards.
Now, is there going to be an optimum loft that would be marked on the club that the consumer would benefit from the most? We got a lot of guys who say, oh, I hit the ball really high and I need a 7.5 driver. But so should they take the 9, or a guy who's a mid to high handicap and needs to get the ball up in the air? Is he going to want to put a 10 or a 10.5 that's marked on the club in play that would then give his fitter more opportunities to adjust the loft and maybe even get him up to 11 or 12?
That's the excitement of the system, is it's the opportunity for the fitters or the golfer to really adjust it wherever they need. And again, when you talk about the range, we go with a standard 9 head here with a 1.5 degree sleeve. We're going to go down to 7.5 or up to 10.5 and adjust the face angle where you want it. So huge range just in one club.
Sure.
The family will have a 9, a 10.5, and a 12. One of the things we found with many golfers that even 10.5 was not the benefit to performance that some golfers needed. So we're launching a 12 right out of the gate. With R11, we launched it late because we did get some demand from the marketplace. With this one, it'll come out right away. The challenge to golfers always is, where do you hit it now, and how do we get you more? And that's where launch monitors come in very handy. That's where a trained technician to watch the ball flight can give you that added benefit. We know that when you go in and fit the driver, even with the current R11, the benefit from fitting to a club that you can't fit is usually at least 12 yards, minimum. So that's just the fitting process. When you talk about then the other performance benefits, you're talking about a lot of benefits in terms of performance. The challenge we always get from the marketplace is it really 7 yards? Is it really 12 yards when you fit? In many cases, it's a lot more. And when you go through that process, there's also a psychological benefit. We know that in many cases, if you take the driver, not this one per se, but take the last one and compare that to the one prior to that, when we didn't do much aerodynamically, put them in a robot, they'd be about the same. The robot swings by weight, swings by loft, swings by club head speed, right? When you change things that help the setup of golfers, now give them a much freer visual, they're going to get more speed because they swing freer. So we know there's an interaction. Every golf club in the fitting process is an interaction between the golf club and the golfer itself. And that's critical nowadays because we know product is very good. We've got to beat the current R11 to have people buy this club. And we had to do that, and we were able to get that performance by a bunch of things that we did internally, externally, and overall in terms of the shape.
Now, availability for the consumer is when?
Our plan on this product is the first week of February.
Very good. So guys will be antsy in the Northwest and the Northeast in the North, and something to look forward to, put in their bag once spring hits.
Well, the great thing is, too, that our country is really a great two-market country. There's a Sun Belt. A lot of golfers really want that product early because that's the sort of the meat of their season. If you're in Arizona, you pretty much want it as soon as you can get it. So we know there's really two core business times out there. We know the golfers in the north are not going to be playing much golf in February and March, but if they happen to take a trip somewhere or,
come out to the kingdom and get fit for the new driver.
There's a lot of opportunity. And we know our sport is a passionate following, so golfers are going to want that, and they may get it if they live in somewhere in the Northeast. They may just get it and stare at it for 3 months before they can hit it.
Very good. Well, Tom, thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to give us a little insight on the R11S. Appreciate it.
All right, Greg, thanks.